Guys, tonight's video is going to be just a little bit different. It's going to have a little bit more talking than usual, and it's going to be a haircut. However, I'm going to be explaining a little bit more about what I'm doing and why. Part of that is because it's more comfortable for me to approach things that way when I'm working with a client. But part of it is I enjoy watching videos like this as well when I am learning how to do different styles, cuts, color techniques, things like that. So I was thinking, for those of you that are new, you may or may not know Lydia. This is my mannequin that has been with me since the very beginning of my channel, and I was kind of thinking that in all that time, in all those videos that she's done with me, she has not really changed much. She hasn't really gotten a glow up of any sort. Given her a couple of trims here and there, but I have not really changed much of her appearance. So Lydia, she's got out of a relationship. She got a new job. She's feeling good. She wants to start a new chapter. So we are going to be getting her a bob tonight. A modern bob, I should say. And it's actually inspired by Sydney Sweeney. I saw pictures of her hair recently by her hairstylist on their Instagram account, and she had done a bob within the last couple of months, and I didn't look at the date, but it looked beautiful on her. So that's what we're gonna go for Lydia here. Gonna get her nice and fresh. So I hope you enjoy. I will try to turn this so you can sort of see what I'm doing. Not that I think you're terribly interested in the process here, and this is not intended to be an educational video. It is meant to just be entertaining, but because I am going to be walking through it a little bit, it at least gives you an idea of what my thought process is behind all this. So I did also give her a few highlights, and then I toned that, but for the sake of time, I did not film that part of the process. We just went straight to post-wash. So the first thing you want to do with anything is establish the length. So because we're going for a bob, I do tend to start a little bit longer, just like you would with anyone, because you can always go shorter, but you cannot grow it back that quickly. So let's go. I've been thinking recently how much I miss being in the salon myself. It's been a couple of years since I've actually worked in the salon with clients, but even though it was only a part-time thing for me, I always really enjoyed it. Establishing a good length here so The last time I actually cut a bob was on myself, and it was in 2020 when I had my first child. We were in the very early months of the pandemic. I want to say it was maybe July, June, one of those times of 2020, and had a new baby. I was not working at the time, and I had a little bit of liquid encouragement and some wine, if I'm being honest. And I thought, I am so sick of baby fingers getting tangled in my hair. I'm just gonna do it. And so after I put my daughter down for bed and had a glass of wine, I took a razor to my hair and I cut off 12 inches of hair. So I have a picture of it. I'll see if I can find it, but it actually turned out really cute. And I really liked the haircut. And I love cutting short haircuts for people. Just not what a lot of my clients wanted, so I didn't do it very often. And then I decided I was too lazy to actually keep up a bob for myself because, contrary to popular belief, I do think if your hair is going to be short, you actually have to know how to style it if you want to love it. So, but I maintain anybody with a bob just instantly looks cooler. Any outfit looks elevated. All of it. If you style it, of course. And I was not motivated enough to style mine regularly. So you're getting a good idea of the length that we're taking off and adjusting for lighting purposes. So I am actually filming in my bathroom, and there might be a little bit of an echo. I apologize if there is, but since I knew we were taking off this much hair, I really didn't want to film this anywhere else because we have a lot of carpet in this house and we already have animals to deal with, so the thought of then having to get all of this mannequin hair out, it's not appealing. She is looking much better already. One of the things to also consider if you are considering getting a bob yourself is what your hair texture and density is like. That is also going to dictate what kind of bob you get as far as length is concerned, layers, any texture you might add into it yourself, considerations for how to style it afterwards. I have very fine hair, so when I used a razor on my hair, it was a straight blade and it works well for fine hair because I don't have any curl or anything going on with mine. So it glides very smoothly, but it creates just the right feathered kind of jagged effect at the bottom that it made my hair actually look a little bit thicker. And it just gave it a little bit more personality versus doing a blunt cut like what I'm doing on her right now. Mannequin hair typically, for a standard mannequin, is about medium. It's a medium all around, medium density, medium texture. You can get it all kinds of hair textures, of course, but I think standard issue. So we'll close for this. Lydia is hardly any sort of specialty mannequin. Okay, to measure length in the front here, make sure got her on level here. I mean, hot dog, I still got it. It's pretty even. Okay. So now what I consider the fun part of haircuts is adding in different elevations to the hair. So adding in layers and texture, and we're gonna do the front as well. I'll show you in 1 second how much hair we took off. So some of the last pieces that I grabbed, we got a pretty generous length here. And we will be styling this as well, so you get to see that part of the process. Alright, length is established. We're just combing everything through, making sure we're nice and smooth. Okay. So this is the fun part of haircuts, but it's also a little bit different for everybody. This is when your hair density and texture really factors in. One of the things that I used to like to do for clients, specifically with this texture, was to do 2 separate styles of layers. So from the ears back and right below the curve of your head in this nape region, I would do 1 set of layers, and then the top section here, ears forward, and from your parietal ridge, so the part of your head where it starts to dome over, that flat spot, flat, curved, that region, I do a separate section of layers. That way you get something that's going to give you good volume at the top, but can also make it so you don't get boxy back in the back. So that is one of the things that I always had clients concerns with, was how boxy their hair would look because the weight of it was so much and it wasn't tapered in towards their head. So you can see I'm using my shortest piece at the bottom here as a guide. All of this extra at the top is what we're trimming off. And depending on how you were trained, I call these flat layers. Other training calls them long layers. So, if anybody is curious, when I went to hair school, I studied the Vidal Sassoon method. So the language is more European. Again, you can already see how this is starting to shape in towards her head. And when we go back into style in just a little bit, you'll really see how that plays in also. And in the salon, I would do very clean sections I will say I'm filming this late at night and I'm not being as diligent about sectioning really cleanly, so I do not condone that. If you are somebody who is a professional and is watching and taking notes on what I'm doing and criticizing me probably, but okay. So we have that lower section done, and now because we have this top layer, we do want to create still quite a bit of length because we're going to taper this in, but we still want to give her a little bit of volume in the back here. So I'm going to take another section of layers again from the curved part of our head back here. And I'm going to elevate this up because the higher you elevate it, the shorter your layer is going to be. And I'm actually going to cut very gently underneath. And I'm going to carve in some layers here without taking a ton of weight. This gives us several really short layers in here to give lift, but it keeps these strands on top still really long, so they're very hidden, they're very well blended for those who don't want a really harsh contrast. This is actually what I do for my mom when I cut her hair. She has hair that's very similar to mine, and she needs all the volume she can get as well. And she's worn it in a bob the last couple of years, so. Okay, and the important part about this front section with the way that I'm cutting this is because where we're going to part our hair, we want to angle it back because we're following the hairline. So we're going to do an angle, same thing on the other side. You can do it where you pull it flat out, straight. There's a time and a place for that. That is not specifically what I'm focusing on with her right now. I personally really like using the natural angles when I'm sectioning for any sort of color pops, highlights, things like that, because I think when it falls later, it looks much more gradual and natural. Unless that is, of course, not the goal, then we would employ a different method, but turn you around, ma'am. And I think I'm going to give her a bit of face framing in the front, not necessarily a fringe, but we are going to give her a little something. So in the front here, because I want this to be balanced on both sides, I am making a triangle section here to establish my initial center point and length on both sides, because by making a triangle here, you can see you make a triangle like that. That is going where you've got the peak in the triangle, that's going to be your shortest point, and then everything's going to cascade down in the shape of a triangle. And this is another one of those things where you can always take off more length later, so I start pretty soft. And then I go into it a little bit more, but to get going, we don't get too aggressive here. And I'm cutting at a point in the shape of a triangle. Untwist. You can go back in and refine that a little bit so that establishes your guide for both sides. A lot of what I'm doing is actually going to make her hair look kind of similar. If you see how I have some of that going on in the front as well. Probably doesn't surprise you, I cut my own hair, so her haircut is likely going to look a little similar to mine in the front because this is the same method that I employ on myself. This is a section that I usually love using a razor in because you can slide and glide and do a lot of really fun things in the front here. But I don't have any fresh blades, so you all are getting denied that treat. Just checking to make sure we look even. And once this is dry, we'll go back through and check again. These framing sections, it's really easy to miss tiny little pieces here and there. So if you were ever actually curious how to do some of these haircuts, I still take classes to make sure that I'm up on my education, even though I'm no longer in the salon. One of the best ones that I can recommend is called Royal Renegades. They have a lot of really fun techniques and tricks they can teach, so. So I'm going to be using a few different products here. If you were to try something like this on yourself, brand doesn't necessarily matter. This is just what I already had in my cabinet. So this is a leave-in spray. This is just going to make it a little bit easier for us to comb through. And then, as I have talked about in some of my other videos, my general rule to keep things simple is 3 products. So I do one that treats everything, one for the root, and then one for the ends. If you want to get a little more complicated, you can layer in different things, something that would start mid-shaft to ends, but I'm keeping it simple, so we're going to do loose for volume. And you want to put that through your hands like you're putting in soap, so it distributes a little bit more evenly. And this is for light product application, I should say. Depending on what kind of hair you have, you're going to need a more aggressive application. And then at that point, you would either apply it directly to the root and work that way, and then do your next product mid-shaft to ends, really depending on what your goals are. But she has pre-treated hair, so typically her hair is actually going to take things really well. This is a blowout cream. I have a lot of stuff from my GK right now. I think they were having a special at the wholesaler that I go to. But all of their stuff smells fantastic, so this is one that you can put on the roots if you want to. I'm focusing on just distributing as evenly as I can through her hair. Finger combing through to start. And what this product does is it helps give a little bit of hold and style to the hair because we are focusing on a blowout style. But it's got a light hold, so it's not going to be overpowering, and you can still work with it if you want to change it afterwards. I am going to put a little bit of instant serum repair on her hair. So technically I'm going to be using 4 products. Sorry, I lied. I just decided this a second ago. So this would be to repair your cuticle. Since I lightened her hair, this would be really good for her if her hair were natural and growing. And this is something that you can use when your hair is wet, or you can use it after it's dry. You just want to follow with a styler. So in this case, I'm going to put a little bit of hair oil on her ends. But this one just smells really nice too. So our last one. This is just a little bit of hair oil. Gonna help seal everything. Still IGK. And this I just focus on the ends with. I know if you have fine hair, you're looking at this and thinking, oil is not going on my hair. My hair gets greasy on its own. The best thing you can actually do, which I learned only recently in the last couple of years, if you have fine hair that gets oily really quickly, is to oil your hair. And it seems counterintuitive, but I promise it works. If you have questions about that, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to address that a little bit more specifically if you need any sort of my insight anyway. So, okay, so her hair actually is decently dry, but I am going to be using a round thermal brush on her to establish some of our shape, and then we'll go back through at the end and refine it a little bit more with a curling iron. So. Okay, now that we have everything fully dry here, we are going to go in back to this top section only. Like I said, talking about the parietal ridges and the dome part. We're going to add just a little bit of curl with curling iron to give her a bit of texture, and then we're going to spray that up. So let's get to that. You can use any size of curling iron you would want for this. I'm using a 1-inch barrel just because it's what I have on hand. And the intention of this is not really so much to actually curl the entire section of hair. You'll notice I'm being very generous with how much I'm putting in here. It's just to give a little bit of wave to the hair. And we are going to spray it out and define it here in just a little bit. So we'll let that cool. We'll grab a couple more. And I really like this process, doing it this way specifically, because I'm not adding unnecessary heat to those other layers of hair underneath. And if you like to have long hair, that's what really establishes them. But by using the round blow dryer brush, we have already polished that a little bit, so if you have some texture to your hair, that smoothed that out, and it's not coiling it up so much at the bottom where your hair ends up looking a lot shorter than it actually is. And if you're just getting a fresh haircut like this, that's a lot shorter than you normally would do it, that would be really, really shocking to do. So I don't recommend it. We're gonna let that cool a little bit. And then once it's cool, we're gonna go back with a few more of our liquid tools and we're going to set and style her officially. So we're just about done. Okay, so one of the products that we're going to use now has just a little bit more hold to it. This is a mermaid fiber. And it actually is my husband's, but he doesn't use it, so it's mine now. So this one you can use wet or dry. And what I really like about this, even though it is made for men's hair, I use it on myself sometimes. It has a really good flexible hold, so it's enough that it's going to help keep a bit of that texture without weighing it down or making it really crunchy. More IDK, this is Beach Club. This is a texture spray. I love my texture sprays. I spray them mostly at the root because it gives you good lift. But if your hair's curled, you can spray it through your entire hair to the root all the way to the end, and that's going to give you a much more defined curl. And the key part to any hairstyle is just kind of playing with it until you find what works for you. So play with where you part it. I know it's really popular to part in the middle right now, but if that doesn't suit your face shape, don't leave it in the middle. You can move it to the side. It doesn't have to be an old school hard part to the side. Keep looking around, see what feels best, see what looks best. This is just a bit of finishing spray so we can get her where she needs to be. And you'll notice I'm not spraying directly on her hair. I spray a little bit away and kind of up because then the mist falls down versus spraying directly on it and risking a really crunchy section there. So this is our finished look. And of course I forgot to get a before picture of her, but so as you can see, we took off quite a bit of length. You can see how it lifts in the different spots like we talked about. Give her a little bit of definition in the front. And then you can see on the back. So, while this maybe doesn't inspire you to go out and get a bob on your own, I think it's really cute. I wish my hair was this thick so I could do something similar to myself, but I hope that you have enjoyed it. I know this was long and I know it was a little bit different. It felt a little bit more authentic to me, a little bit more real than doing a role play or something like that. So I hope you appreciated it for what it was. So thank you so much for joining me.